routes. About 30 years ago, France decided to create a nationwide network of bike routes and greenways, giving people an attractive and safe way to explore the country by bike. What was once a visionary idea has actually become reality, and since then, well over 20,000 kilometers have been completed, using quiet country lanes, abandoned railway lines, and canals like the one we're riding along here. And the network is growing at such a rapid pace that it's easy to lose track and oversight into how it's progressing. In the past months alone, at least 4 new routes have been opened, giving you great new options for your next bike trip. Hi, I'm Slow Eddie Spaghetti.
And I'm Vera.
In this video, we'd like to give you an update on which routes you can now check out and start out by giving you some detailed impressions of one of these new routes, the Voie Verte Canal d'Orléans. It starts here right down at the canal in Orléans.
So finding it would be that easy if the arrow would point the right way.
But unfortunately, it sort of leads you under that side of the bridge rather than under that side where all the cyclists are coming from. So they gave us a hint of where to cycle through. And here is where it ends. Of course, depending on your direction, where the Canal de Loing, the Canal de Briare and the Canal d'Orléans meet, just outside of Montargis and just opened 2 months prior. Does this new bike path set the standard? Is it easy to access? What facilities does it offer? Is it suitable for kids? On this channel, we like to take a closer look at what's important for bike travelers, share experiences, and spread the word on good ideas. So subscribe if you enjoy traveling by bike as well. But back to our route. This absolutely flat route follows the Canal d'Orléans for 80 kilometers, which was shut down in 1954. The cycle path is part of a plan to revive the canal, and some of the locks have recently been renovated. So it looks like it will soon get reopened for tourist boats. But for now, the only cleared out path is for bikes. One of the great things about this route is that it connects directly to the Eurovelo 6 and Eurovelo 3, and forms sort of a shortcut. It also enables a round trip named the Triangle d'eau, or Water Triangle, following the Loing and Loire rivers, which makes it very attractive. So it's no surprise it's already very popular. Attention. But don't get confused by these images. Achtung. As we were recording, the French Cyclotourisme Association was converging in Orléans, with literally thousands of cyclists coming our way. And without them, we would have struggled to find the starting point.
But when you find your route, it's basically impossible to get lost.
And as we progressed, traffic thinned out, and we even had some stretches where we cycled in solitude. Signage along the way then was almost perfect, and we especially liked the frequent indication of the remaining distance, which makes the route more predictable. Also, the connections to village centres were clearly marked, which is useful. But there were also some concerns we had. Not immediately finding the starting point in Orléans was one thing, but the connection near Montargis to the Eurovelo 3 was more misleading than anything else. In fact, we witnessed one cyclist making a wrong turn and spoke to another on the way who believed to be on the Eurovelo 3. We didn't quite understand why he thought that until we arrived at the end where this route branches off. The problem is that both routes lead to Orléans. Coming from the north and after crossing the canal, you can clearly see the new sign showing the new direct route to Orléans. But if you want to follow the Eurovelo 3 and keep straight on, you have to turn your head at a 90-degree angle to the left when intuitively wanting to turn right, especially if you just caught the sign for a fleeting moment and didn't notice the logo change. Compare that to the signs you get on a motorway or autoroute, which clearly indicate which lane leads where from a good distance. Why this wasn't possible here is a mystery to us, but at least there is a sign here, and that can't be taken for granted. Many of the other connections remain oblivious to those who aren't from the area. Also, there is a lot of inconsistency here. Whilst there was a sign for the connection to Châteauneuf-sur-Loire, there weren't any for the bike route up to Ingrandes and Pithiviers, or for the Voie Verte connecting Chessy with the Loire à vélo. So there's certainly some room for improvement. And
I'm missing the sign for the nearby campsite, which is where we are going to escape from all the cyclists.
Speaking of campsites, there are several quiet and inexpensive campsites that are just perfect for cyclists with a tent. In fact, a new one was just 4 days ahead of its opening in Fay-aux-Loges. And then there are also campsites in Chessy, Combreux, Sepoy, and Montargis. Except for the new one, we've tried them all out and can reassure you you'll get a peaceful night at all of them. Which also meant that we got to see the canal multiple times in the early hours of the morning. The atmosphere is just magical, but we don't want to show you too much of the route, as not to spoil it for you. You should definitely go discover and explore this route yourself. What we will reveal is that it is arguably one of the nicest canals you can ride along.
It's lovely cycling out here. This route isn't for adrenaline kicks, but to calm down and relax.
The routes along canals can sometimes get a bit monotonous, but not this one. It winds gently along and the backdrop is constantly changing from agricultural fields to dense forest, giving a shady canopy on hot days, and also protection from the wind. Some parts even resemble the famous Canal du Midi, with the typical plane trees lining the waterway. But
not only is this route great for cycling, there's also a lot to see on the way, like this old power and pump station, for example.
And also to learn, like how a lock works. But again, we don't want to reveal it all. All we want to say is that there's a lot to take in if you're going at a leisurely pace and want to take a deeper dive into the surroundings. And if you want to take a dip in the water yourself, there's a lake just off the route in Combreux with a beach and all.
One of the really great things about this route is how many rest areas there are. In addition to that once had already existed, they've added an additional 9 areas, some of them especially equipped. Accessibility for persons with disabilities, a shelter providing protection from the sun and the rain, bicycle racks, charging stations for e-bikes and phones, and even our laptop that we need for editing this video. And a toilet, drinking water that doesn't taste like chlorine. A great big picnic area and a field for playing. And these really fancy lounges. All that's missing is a cool mocktail.
Sadly, drinks don't get served, but there are 2 cafes directly en route where you can sit outside and enjoy a beer or a meal. And
a cycling trip through France wouldn't be a real trip without stopping at the bakeries. And luckily, there is at least one in each village. Other than that, stocking up on provisions might be difficult.
there is a cute little shop at the lock in Grignon, next to the cafe, selling organic and local produce. If you need the industrial stuff, there are 2 small village shops in Vitry-aux-Loges and Sury-aux-Bois, and a larger one in Fay-aux-Loges, but it isn't signposted from the route. But back to the most important thing, the ride.
Of course, being brand new and paved, it's just a joy to glide along. The surface is just so smooth.
However, we weren't really thrilled by the first part leading out of Orléans, which hasn't been attended to.
Well, it's great to see all these cyclists about, but I can tell you something, they're kicking up dust in my eyes all the time.
And some parts were in appalling condition, far too narrow to allow for safe passing. It really puts a dent in the overall impression. And we were a bit concerned to see the first cracks and damage already appearing here and there. But it seems to have been noticed and will hopefully get addressed in the foreseeable future. But apart from that, we were very content.
Of course, cycling along here is extremely safe because it's all car-free, except for a couple of times when you need to cross the street. But these are easy to navigate.
And to avoid busy intersections, they have improved the underpasses and added artwork, making them much more cheery than the usual grey. They even painted the underside of the motorway bridge, which is definitely uncommon, to say the least. Let's hope they don't suffer from vandalism and get appreciated from passers-by. So, to conclude, this route has so much going for it. be that the new options it provides for touring the region or the reasons to take a break, we can confidently give this route a thumbs up. And
Of course, with no traffic, it's a great route for touring with your kids.
which leaves the question of how to get here if not by bike. Thankfully, there is a train station in both Orléans and Montargis, so it's pretty easy to access. So, now that we've had a look at this route in detail, here's a brief summary of further routes that have recently opened. Since May 2025, the Greenway linking La Suze-sur-Sarthe to the outskirts of La Flèche is now almost complete. Stretching 27 kilometers through the peaceful Sarthe countryside, it offers a continuous trail for walkers, cyclists, and horse riders. The first 13 kilometers to Malicorne opened at the end of 2024, with a further 14 kilometers now added. The route is taking shape as a new favorite for leisure outings. A brand new 76-kilometer stretch of the Cœur de France à vélo has just been inaugurated, linking Chartres-sur-Cher with Chissé-en-Touraine. The itinerary follows the Canal de Berry and then the Cher Valley, weaving east to west through some of the region's most charming landscapes. Riders will find 51 kilometers of fully developed greenways along the waterways, combined with 25 kilometers of quiet shared roads. This section forms part of a larger project spanning 4 departments, Allier, Cher, Loire-et-Cher, and Indre-et-Loire, creating a backbone route across the heart of France. Already waymarked through the Hautes-Alpes, the Durance à vélo has now been extended a further 84 kilometers into the Alpes de Haute-Provence, between Sisteron and Manosque. The new section was officially inaugurated on the 23rd of May at Sisteron's Citadel, with the département proudly unveiling this spectacular riverside route that showcases the Durance Valley's landscapes. And apart from routes leading from A to B, new loops are being formed all across the country. For example, in the Pays de Retz out on the west coast. So we enjoyed this route very much, and it was fun making this video. Please give it a like if it was useful and inspired you to give one of these routes a try yourself. If you already have, please tell others what your experience was like in the comments below. We look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thanks for watching and keep on cycling!